My journey so far with game birds has been a fun one. Since I first picked up a gun at 14, my passion for the outdoors became charged with purpose. And I've since dedicated my life to working with and around them. I've been lucky to do that by working in different countries, in different trades, both of which exposed me to some wonderful people and experiences, which have only fueled that passion more.
So good luck and enjoy your hunt.
And to you.
If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that everything is transient. I, for one, have seen driven game shooting change fundamentally over my lifetime. And honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. To try and understand where we are today, I've come back to the beginning of game shooting as we know it.
Welcome to one of the best parts of England, Simon.
This looks stunning. Absolutely stunning.
There is something about proper old-fashioned countryside management that still gets me a bit excited.
It should do. I mean, you've got every field here has got a margin around it that's going to be just rammed full of wildlife and insects and habitat everywhere for things to survive and thrive. I can't wait to have a look around.
And try and shoot some
And try and shoot something as well, yes.
So we're on for wild French partridge today.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of pheasants and partridges in England are released. They're not wild, they're put out when they're teenagers essentially and allowed to become wilded. Wild birds took a real hit during agricultural changes 100 years ago, and they've declined because we needed to farm that land to produce food. Now in a modern world where we're looking back to enhancing the land, we're also looking perhaps from a shooting perspective more and more into wild birds.
Why a wild bird special? For me, it's their drive to survive, their instinct for survival makes it more of a challenge. They're very hard to get near. Their senses are more attuned to all kinds of threats, all kinds of predators.
To even get a sustainable population, let alone a shootable surplus, you need to put in a pretty crazy amount of dedication.
They're less driven by the food handouts, they're more driven by a survival instinct. And you know that they've hatched off and reared and raised their young.
You need to have a correct habitat for them. You need a correct level of feed for them year round, and you need to protect them from predators. Predators that survive really well in a general farmland and urban, suburban environment.
It's a privilege to be in the landscape hunting them. It is more difficult. There's no doubt, it is more difficult.
Luckily, it's not just us versus them. We have Carol with 3 hopefully very well-trained pointing dogs.
Yes.
Who are going to help bridge the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be the excitement of it, is the anticipation of watching those dogs work and going on point and that tension. And if your heart rate's not increasing, because mine will be, you've got to have cold blood running through your veins if you don't get excited at that point.
I'm expecting a first bird miss through just sheer pump.
Yes.
You've not shot over pointers before?
No, I haven't, no.
Excited?
Very. Going to be a new experience and it'll be interesting to watch. It's fascinating to watch different breeds of dog work in different ways. English pointers working at high level will be brilliant to watch.
Every time I shoot over pointers, it makes me want to buy a pointer. And then I see sense and realise that I'm a terrible dog trainer, dog lover, anything like that. But watching a properly trained pointer is like nothing else, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
I mean, the quantity of bird life is wild, man.
Yeah, how are they still here? Derek?
Cock pheasant, Derek.
Derek?
Derek! Derek! Derek!
There is an inch of its life.
Proclivity in the modern world to have everything a bit too neat and tidy.
Yeah.
And I was chatting to someone the other day whose farm's just been rewilded, and he was going on about it, and I get his concern as somebody who was an intensive farmer. But to think this is lesser, I find a bit weird.
Well, it's about priorities, isn't it?
And that's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard from a food production to wildlife thing. Those two things are always in conflict.
There's a generation taken over from the previous generation who have been educated to buy tons of fertiliser and chuck it on the land.
I'm
and not do it.
incentivised, paid to do so.
Yeah, and they haven't had any reason to change because it made them money. And now the next generation, they're having interesting and difficult conversations with the previous generation about how to manage this land.
From the outside, it's a fairly simple thing, right? But I'm guessing the actual balance of making money and looking after nature is probably pretty, not impossible, but I think it is a movement that we're seeing.
Yeah, it is,
It's definitely a movement across the board.
Yeah. Okay. There's a pigeon. Oh, it's a baby pigeon, yeah. That's English.
I mean, so far, I feel like I've had a good day out. We have seen some partridge a long way out. My heart hasn't settled down from the moment.
No, I know. Every time the dog stops and goes stiff and the tail shoots out, your heart rate spikes. And then when you move into position, but that's the fun of it. That's what it's all about. It's part of the team game that we're involved in here. Working to the dog. You've got to be thinking about what you're doing every time, and we've got to be a bit quieter. We're making too much noise.
Silence until the next flush. Got it.
We walk into that stubble field and there's a big cover at the top and a big valley with beetle banks, margins and hedgerows that have been newly planted all around. It's the sort of stuff that turns me on as a bit of a nature geek. Carol sees a few birds, reads the wind and goes, we're going to start up there and work the bank across. Because of where that dog was, one of us had to go in these thick nettles. Often discomfort during hunting leads to more results. Often that's just something that we tell ourselves when we're going through a horrific cover.
Why not? It's all part of the experience.
But I've been shooting birds long enough to know that it was the side that would present opportunity. Those shots within a moment are over.
Oh, my heart's going. My heart is going.
And yet in that moment, however short it is, you carve such intense memories. Yeah, it's like 3 seconds of your life, but it feels like 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Is he getting stung? Is he earning that one?
We then saw 2 hen pheasants. We'll let those go. We're not here today to shoot a lot. We're here today to explore wild birds and watch some awesome dogs work.
I was told reliably by Carol that the English pointers are there just to find birds, and that's where their pleasure comes from. It's not like other dogs that get upset when you don't shoot them. That took the pressure off a bit. I don't want to upset the dog.
Are you reseeding this part of the plot?
Yeah, and tweed isn't nettle proof when there's that many nettles.
Sorry, I didn't ask if I could touch your leg then.
You got it.
Still,
You did.
Just.
On camera.
We finally
Succeeded.
There was a lot of pressure there.
There is, yeah.
I couldn't let it get a bit further. I was like, no,
Let's make sure.
This is as fair a chase and a fair as an exchange as you can get, right? You've got to put a lot of effort in for one bird. They represent something so unique as a challenge because they are used to getting killed every day by everything for their entire lives. You're not shooting young birds here. See if we can get Simon lucky.
not going through the cover unless you want to. I think to increase your chance of success, downhill side is better.
Okay.
Birds generally peel downhill.
Follow the contour, that's true, yes.
Yards out on that offer.
And I just want to say that this is for your own benefit. When I think if I shoot anything on the top side, you don't think that I was being
Run
a
like
dick.
madness.
Okay. So you're going to give me the left, which is very generous of you, think.
But I want you to have some success.
I'm sure, well, I'll try not to get it wrong. That's flying uphill, Johnny.
Do you want to swap sides, son? So they're all uphill.
Yeah.
Not loaded.
Simon!
No, that's too far now for you. It's your shot, Moy. Don't wait for me.
Mate. I
Don't wait for
will,
me.
the next one. But I was like, it's coming across you.
But it is noticeable how many birds have gone up there.
I didn't account for there being a house. Let's swap sides quickly.
As you go towards the dog on point, you close the gun and the safety catch comes off. There are 1,000,001 things that are going through your brain about what might happen, how you might get it wrong, about how you might get it right, and you have to divorce yourself from that emotion. Don't predict it. just assess what happens, because it might be an English partridge which we couldn't shoot today. It requires good decision making in a very, very short space of time, and it is electrifying. Heart pumping.
Congratulations,
Thank you very much. There were partridges flicking over the hedge, but
Yeah.
they're just too wild, aren't they? That's the thing, they are wild, and it's a struggle to get close.
Simon, the Flash, Barry, Allen, Reinhold.
Who? That's my first pheasant with this gun.
Throughout the afternoon, chasing birds across stubbles and subsequently being outwitted at every turn, I discovered why they started to shoot driven birds in the first place. These wild birds didn't want to find out who or what we were.
As we walked up the edge, 2 or 3 birds got off close, and I'd never seen birds this wild.
And short of stalking down a field margin, the chances of getting close were very low.
A sporting shot is one with a high degree of difficulty, but not such a high degree of difficulty that your risk of wounding becomes too great. But it isn't just the shot. Your relationship with the dog that you're working with, because that's one of the oldest relationships mankind's ever had.
She knows.
It's not just gun. It's not just cartridge, it's not just man behind the trigger. It's dog, it's landscape, it's conservation, it's weather. Skylarks, they're making me twit.
It's insane, right?
Yeah. All of this comes down to what I consider to be a sporting shot.
As we entered this field of fairly thick cover, all of us started to get a little bit hot. A lot of us thought it's because, well, we're chronically unfit, but actually we were about 5 minutes off of a serious thunderstorm. We're walking up the cover.
Simon, take the lucky side. You're okay.
And birds aren't stupid. A few partridge curled away over those buildings didn't present a shot for Simon. But as we got up over the rise, the dog went on point, sent a pheasant up.
Oh, God almighty.
And Simon missed it.
Clean over the top of it.
Finally had the opportunity. It zipped out, hooked round behind a hedge, and I loosed a shot at it. And missed. 2 partridges got up to my right. I just wasn't quick enough, right? If you're not in the game with wild partridge, it turns out, you're not in with a chance. Another bird got up. Simon shot it, killed it.
Nice shot, Simon.
With finite opportunity comes a serious level of responsibility to make the most and maximise those opportunities, and you do kick yourself when things don't go to plan. But walked up wild birds are not easy. A hen pheasant had got up as I was shooting at the partridge, pulled over to the left as it came across my 12 o'clock line, and dropped it into the hedgerow.
I mean, I think there was just a bit of nervous excitement having built up and been edged for so long.
And then I fluffed it.
So did I.
How many did you get in the end?
2.
2. I think I clipped that partridge. We're both equally as unsuccessful or successful. Oh, it's amazing,
Oh,
like I said,
dear.
after having been on it for so long, the anticipation for
Yeah.
that moment.
That's the difference, exactly.
And then you got to perform. That's quite hard to do.
Having been thinking about nothing else but performing, leading into
Yeah.
that.
It's
gun
difficult.
handling.
It's part of the challenge, isn't it? Is to continue to get your concentration up, keep walking, keep looking, keep thinking, keep watching the dog, and then try and make the best of the chance that is presented.
Which is not.
And it's not a given. It's really not.
Today we did 16,000 steps for 5 birds. It became really evident to me why they started shooting driven birds in the first place. Why not use those natural escape routes? Why not use the bird's natural instinct by flushing them and then putting some guns in the escape route? And that's the first time I've ever really realised that, because you don't see released birds doing the same kind of thing. And that tradition's changed a lot over the years, you know, and it's nice to see where we are now. But it's real interesting for me to have seen that insight right back to the origins, and perhaps maybe use that as a guide for where our future should go.
Mr. Reinhold, I am wet, tired and humiliated.
I am too, but we've had a lot of fun.
Bloody happy about it.
We've had a great time. It's been brilliant fun watching those dogs work, watching them quarter across the wind, downwind, and then go onto point, and then having to get into position. It's heart-thumping stuff.
Big liver bitch, he was so fast.
Yeah.
But stopped like nothing.
Yeah, it's the different characters of the dogs, and you start watching and examining how they're working and sort of getting a feel for how they move, and you adjust your attitude to the dog's attitude. It's exciting stuff, and there's so much to learn.
I learnt a lot today. I'm in a bit of a phase of my life, as you know, of trying to understand why we do what we do. And today was a great learning experience, man.
Yeah, it really was for both of us, actually. Yeah,
what wild birds.
Yeah, and they outwit you at every step, and you work really hard for every shot. And you're not always successful because your concentration has to be at a very, very high level all the time the dog is working, because you cannot switch off. There's no time to take a breath because you're constantly looking at the dog for a bead of where the next shot's going to come from. Then you've got to get up. Then you've got to be on the right foot at that point when that bird flushes. It's great. It's drama all the time.
The thing with having a lot of birds is certainly, although they remain equally exciting, it certainly cheapens by the shot and cheapens by the moment. When you've worked hard for something, it's worth a lot, and that is fascinating to me.
Do it again?
Yeah, always.
Oh yeah. Very much a piece of me today.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed every moment. Hard.
Very.
Teach you about your guns, your gear, yourself. Been amazing, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad to have shared it with you.
Well, thank you for asking me. It's been great fun.
Anytime, man.
You know, these experiences are once in a lifetime, very rare. And I was really blessed to have this opportunity today. But I think the next stage of my journey of really trying to understand the culture of British shooting is to see how close I can get to that on the open market. What is actually accessible and what is actually available. I haven't got that planned out yet. I've got a few phone calls to make, but I'm sure you'll come along on that day with me. Thank you for watching, guys. This channel is made possible by our amazing sponsors. You can find out more about them in the description down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can join as a member. You get loads of extra content, well, some extra content, and occasionally we hook up and go clay shooting together as a membership group. If you don't feel like joining today, we really appreciate you watching and subscribing. Have a wonderful day.